And we are back. This is Regionally Speaking. I'm your host, Steve Walsh. We turn now to covering the Amanda Bach murder case. 20-year-old Dustin McCowan was convicted earlier this week. Police are now turning their attention to the role of his father, Joseph Elliott McCowan, and whether or not he may have aided in a cover-up. I talked with Elliott on February 20th, 2012, when he was advertising a $10,000 reward for evidence in the case. The week before, I had interviewed a Florida-based private investigator, Bill Warner, who had been following the case and originally blogging about seeing some similarities between Bach's disappearance and the killing of a woman in Tennessee. But by that point, by the time I interviewed him, Warner was recanting his blog, saying that he had been duped into believing he had received a tip from a Valparaiso police officer who said police were not following up on all the leads in the case. In fact, by that time, Warner believed that it was actually Elliot McCowan, a Crown Point police officer, who had fed him that information without revealing his own personal stake in that case. We'll play the interview from Elliot from last year, and then when we come back, we'll talk with Porter County Police Detective Jeff Biggs about the case. Family and friends of Dustin McCowan are offering a $10,000 reward for information on the murder of the 19-year-old Amanda Bach. McCowan is in prison awaiting a trial in the case. In the meantime, police have released a statement saying that they are confident that they are following up on all leads and that the evidence continues to point to McCowan. But to talk about it, we have McCowan's father, Elliot McCowan, who is also a Crown Point police officer. Elliot, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So tell me a little bit about this reward.
Well, I had somebody contact me last month in January and asked if I'd be willing to accept a $10,000 cash donation in efforts to offer a reward for any information leading to an arrest and a conviction of somebody that was involved. So I took a few weeks and discussed it with my family, and obviously overall we decided to go ahead and do it and get it out there, you know.
All right, so police, and this is just from the initial trial date for McCowan, have cell phone text records from him talking to a neighbor. He's texting in there that he's wrapping up chores. When police trace those phone calls, they find out that phone was near where Amanda's body was found. What evidence is out there, do you think, that points in another direction?
Well, there's a lot of loose ends. You know, there's a lot of things that need to be looked at, but nothing that I'm going to discuss right now. There's some things I can talk about. There's some things that I can't. I obviously can't discuss anything to do with the case right now. You know.
Okay. So you can't even give us a hint on what you think this $10,000 might bring in.
They're just hoping it'll bring in anything. Obviously, they're a supporter of Dustin. They don't believe he was involved in it. They believe in his innocence, and they're just hoping that it'll bring in anything, actually. Something to lead, obviously, to somebody else, somebody that was involved.
Now, you're his father. It's not surprising that you would believe in your son's innocence, but do you have anything to go on besides a father's intuition?
Well, yeah, I have a lot of things to go on. That's what I said. Who would know him better than me, you know? Especially I've got 18 years with him. You know, I don't think anybody would know him better than I would. And yeah, there's obviously lots of things I've got to go on other than just that.
Now, you talked to him before police got to him, and you got in a car and you drove off with him for a while. Can you say anything about what you talked to him about back the day before he was arrested back in September?
Yeah, that's the same thing I released when this all happened. You know, I took him down to Dean's where they found a car. I was just interested in looking at the car.
You were just interested in looking at the car. I'm sorry, the car where Amanda's body was found, or
where the car was found. Correct.
Where the car was found. So you took him over to that site?
Yeah.
Why would you do that?
It's rather simple. He was outside talking on the phone. I wanted to go look at the car, and obviously I couldn't because the car was gone. So.
All right. So in this case, there's a Bill Warner. Are you aware of Mr. Warner? He's a private investigator out of Florida that did some blogging saying that there were some similarities to the case, Amanda Bach's case, and a case that he is following in Sarasota, Florida. Are you aware of him?
Yeah, I'm familiar with him.
Yeah, and I actually talked to him on Friday, and he's quite upset with you because he said he believed he got a call on I think it was January 5th from someone who said they were a Valparaiso police officer who went through a lot of the details of the case, saying that there are several things that police had not looked at, and he said he ended up tracing the call eventually and found out it came from the Crown Point Police Department, where you are a police officer. Did you call Mr. Warner?
Yeah, I called him, and he's got his wires crossed. You know, that's no fault of mine. I mean, I didn't give him any information other than what was already released. There was a specific case he had posted on his website, so I called and asked him some questions about that. You know, it's not my fault he's got his wires crossed. That's something on his end.
I'm sorry, did you tell him you were a Valparaiso police officer, not a Crown Point police officer?
At no time did I mention anything about being a Valparaiso police officer.
Did you tell him you were Dustin McCowan's father?
I told him who I was and where I worked, and that was the only information I gave him.
You said that you were his father?
No, I didn't mention Dustin at all.
Well, why would you not mention that you're his dad?
Why would I mention something about that when I'm asking him questions about something he had on his website?
Okay, so
I asked him specific questions about a blog he had on his website. He was obviously inquisitive as to why I was wondering, so I mentioned the Amanda case, and then he asked me some questions. I answered them, and then that was that. I didn't tell him to get on there and Google her name and add her to his website. I didn't tell him any of that. I asked him some questions. The phone conversation wasn't even 5 minutes long. It was just a little bit over 4 minutes. I asked him some questions, and that was that. You know, like I said, it's not my fault he's got his wires crossed.
Now, but when he started blogging and those started appearing on Facebook sites that are supporting Dustin, did you feel the need to call down there and say, you know, actually, I'm his dad?
I didn't feel the need to call down there and tell him anything.
Okay. So can you give me any sense of the sort of things that you're looking for that police might have overlooked? Now, I'm just looking for media reports, actually, and we have Commander Jeff Biggs with Porter County Police Department saying that they're confident they have followed up on every lead and that they haven't closed the investigation. I take it you're not satisfied with that?
Satisfied with what part of that? That they haven't closed the investigation, or?
And then they're following up on leads.
Well, I hope they do. That's my only concern. The only concern I do is if anybody does call in with a tip, if they will follow up on it or not. I mean, like I said, I'm not going to discuss anything with the case.
Right.
But obviously, you know, hopefully they do their job, but we'll see.
So what do you think a $10,000 reward might bring in?
It can bring in absolutely nothing, or it can bring in anything. You know, I'm not quite sure. We've never been involved in anything like this, so it's just kind of one of those things you roll the dice with and you see if you get anything.
Can I ask directly, are you offering the $10,000 reward?
No, I am not.
It's somebody else, but you can't say who?
Correct. They wish to remain anonymous.
And this is somebody you don't know?
It's somebody that I know of, but I don't know if you kind of follow me.
Okay. All right. So I guess that's where we're going to have to leave it. We just don't have any more time to get in this. This is Elliot McCowan. He is father of Dustin McCowan, who is accused of the murder of 19-year-old Amanda Bach, a very high-profile case coming out of Porter County. Mr. McCowan, thanks for your time, and thanks for coming on.
You're welcome.
And this is Regionally Speaking. I'm your host, Steve Walsh. Now, that was an interview from just about 1 year ago with Joseph Elliott McCowan, father of Dustin McCowan, who was, of course, found guilty of murdering Amanda Bach in Porter County. Police held a press conference in Porter County yesterday to announce that they were turning their attention to the potential role of Dustin's father, who is a Crown Point police officer.